who's our membership chair, along with Press Club member Linda Blackman, to come up with our nominees for the Board of Governors. I'm going to go through a couple of slides. First of all, I'll remain for one more year as president of the club. Pam Fultz. Pam, are you here today? She is our new secretary for 2021. Will be.
Pam's there. Hello.
And Iris Sure, thank goodness, is continuing as our treasurer for 2021. We also have current governors who are being nominated for a new term. Carla Wheeler, membership chair, and she does everything else in addition to being membership chair. Connie Kinsvater has been our wonderful scholarship chair, continuing in that role. Phil Buth, so good to have you on our call today as a governor at large. Marquita Curtis Haynes, governor at large. She's been very active with our social media. Sandra D, governor at large, and she is will be our past secretary. She's been a great help to our board. Tom Marquardt, who is governor at large, but also our Zoom king, and Greg Ramshaw, governor at large. Let me continue, please. We have folks who are continuing to serve on the Board of Governors for a new term. So Bob Orr continues. David Silverberg, our Vice President of Programs. Rona Saunders, our Press Club co-founder and governor for life. We adore you, Rona. Mark Young, who's been amazing as the communications chair, really ramped things up for us this year. Jeff Margolis, governor at large. Joel Banow, governor at large. He brought us our most recent program about culture in Naples. That was wonderful. Jill Caffey, governor at large. Jill's been great with all of the communications. George Lehner has been helpful at just about everything. And Frank Sapola, governor at large, also very active. So glad to have those folks. And so thrilled to have three new, and this has been part of our strategic plan, but three new working journalists on our Board of Governors. Laura Granius, governor at large. She's the investigations editor for the USA Today newspapers. We know her as Naples News, but she's more than that. Chris Safadi, who has been so helpful with our student events at FGCU and other, is a governor at large. He's an anchor and reporter with Wink TV. And Delia Diambre, governor at large, she is a past recipient of our Young Journalist Awards, and she's an investigative reporter with Audio Chuck Podcast Network, and you will, I'm sure, see more of her upcoming. So I think I would entertain a motion from the floor to approve the slate. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, all of our new board.
Thank you.
Going. Yay!
Thank you.
We also, as part of our rebranding, renaming, updated the bylaws for our organization. We're reflecting the name change from the Naples Press Club to the Press Club of Southwest Florida. The bylaws have been simplified. They were sent out to those of you who registered for this meeting, so I'm sure you had a chance to read all of the document and have no questions or comments at this point in time. I want to thank Bob Orr again for his work in updating, editing our bylaws and making it easy for the rest of us on the board to approve them and bring them to you today. Is there a motion to approve the bylaws?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. You guys are doing a great job here. So let's take a moment to remember some of our press club friends that we've lost this past year. First of all, we lost longtime member Jim Mahaffey, who passed away in April after a very long and distinguished career in journalism. For 68 years, he served on newspaper staffs. He then owned and operated community publications. He was very involved in advertising. Press Club past president Carol Green shares, Jack was a giant of the press that has left, he is a giant of press that has left this world. Not only was Jack a founder and longtime member of our press club, he made significant contributions to our press club for many years. So we honor him. And let's take a moment to think about all of the journalists who have been injured or lost their lives doing their reporting job. Thank you. Oh, let me go back. One more piece of business. Wanted our scholarship committee chair, Connie, to introduce our journalism student award winner, one of our scholarship award winners who is joining us today. Connie, has our guest arrived?
Yes, she has. And Camila, if you would unmute yourself, I'll let you say hi in just a moment. But I just wanted to tell you that that Camila is from University of Central Florida. She's the class of 2022, and that she was recently elected the creative nonfiction editor for Cypress Stone, the school's literary magazine, and also the copy editor. There was a piece in the Scoop about her doing that. Would you like to say hello to everybody, Camila?
Yeah, hi everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank
I
you.
also want to give a shout out to Carol Green, who's your mentor. She's a great mentor. So thank you for joining us today, Camila. It's a pleasure. And also I wanted to point out that Phil Buth is with us today, and Phil Buth he's the former scholarship chairman prior to me. And he also is very generous with his donations to the scholarship program. And Bill sent in $3,000 this year for his Buth matching grant. And we all appreciate that, Phil. And I'm going to mute myself now because we're being re-roofed, and you may be right above the office right this minute. I love it. So anyway, thank you, Camila, for being here. Thank you, Phil, for what you do. And I'm going to bow out.
Thank you, Connie, and thank you, Phil, for your generosity. You've really kept our scholarship program going. We appreciate that.
May I just comment something about Jack Mahaffey, please? Can you hear
Yes, of
me?
course.
He was the man who was responsible for the beginning of the inserts, the advertising inserts into newspapers. That was his original business.
Wow.
He made that very, very profitable for himself because he got the rights to that system. And I once heard him describe it all, and it was absolutely a remarkable achievement. I love the guy.
So did I. We were good friends.
He's a wonderful fellow.
Great. Thank you for that.
Right.
Let's move on to the Young Journalist Awards program and turning it over to Bob Orr, who's the chair, and his wonderful committee. And he'll provide some background and introduce our award winner.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Well, this is the fourth year that we've been able to do this as a club. And I'm very happy again this year to be able to present our 2020 winner. Just by way of background, we put out a call for applications this summer. Carla Wheeler helped us with that. Marquita helped us with that. And we got back 4 applications on the broadcast side. And we didn't get anything back from the print side. And I guess we'll take that upon ourselves as maybe an outreach failure. And we were a little disappointed in that. But I will say that the 4 broadcast applicants were all impressive. And so the judges enjoyed taking a look at their work and giving us their opinion. Also, I'd like to thank the people that helped. Julie mentioned some of them, and I mentioned Carla and Marquita. In addition to that, on the judging side, George Lehner helped again this year, Carol Green again this year, and Greg and Mary Ramshaw. So before I introduce our winner, I want to tell you a little bit about what the judges said about this reporter. One judge said, "This journalist's work is just so well done. I love the creativity. I particularly love the editing. This is an excellent storyteller." Overall, across the panel, the judges were impressed with the enterprise efforts that this reporter showed. One judge called the work resourceful features. Another said, I selected this winner because of the reporter's unique ability to find people who are unsung heroes in out of the way places with fascinating but little known stories to offer. That's interesting. Another one said this original approach demonstrated by this reporter could play in any market. And finally, the summary from our other judge said, I absolutely love the style, superb storyteller, takes you straight to the heart of one story, network vibes. That's pretty high praise from some pretty crusty old curmudgeonly people. I love the judges. In any case, we're very thrilled this year to congratulate the winner of the 2020 Young Journalism Award. He is from NBC2 News in Fort Myers. His name is Sean Martinelli. He's joined us on the call today. Sean, congratulations. I don't know what a Zoom ovation looks like, but I encourage people maybe a thumbs up or silent clapping, whatever. And I'm here to tell you, Sean, that your check, your $500 winner's check is in the mail. I promise you.
Famous last words. Famous last words.
Bob, that's the most important part.
You're going to get it, Sean. I guarantee.
And be sure to transmit that information to the treasurer, please.
Yeah, right. Iris is going to take care of it.
Iris.
Now we're going to let Sean have the floor in just a few minutes to tell us more about himself. But first, let's just take a few minutes ourselves to take a look at some of Sean's award-winning work. Julie, roll the tape, please.
Working on that.
Okay, in the meantime, what about those Mets, huh?
Each time we hit the open road, photojournalist Todd Offenbeck and I believe everyone has
Trying to do something else.
Today, we wanted to put that belief to the test.
You've never been to Muse.
You were in here.
We're heading to Muse. Up until last year, it had been a community so overlooked, even federal maps had it misspelled.
Like a nice day at least for this.
Every day's a nice day at Muse. Or Muse. Or Muse.
Here there are no stores, no post offices, no restaurants, just open road, and maybe more cows than people. In search of the first human that would let us tell their story,
So much for lunch.
we thought we might have laid a goose egg. Hi, how are you? As fate would have it, we ended up finding a goose with a man instead.
How would you describe Muse to someone who's never been here before?
Heaven.
That's coming from a guy who's lived around the country.
I can't take the cold.
In cities big and small. 20 years ago, Fran Cobert sold his Naples business and moved here for a slower pace, a place where chickens are a must and shoes are optional.
Politics, city government, county government. You're looking at the luckiest guy in the world.
But a lucky life isn't a perfect life. Frank's had his misfortunes, like when his wife, Lynn, of 54 years, got sick.
It was ulcerative colitis.
Ulcerative colitis. She was a very sick person. She was down to skin and bone. She couldn't do nothing. Things like that happen. And you got to deal with it. And we know the power of prayer.
Prayers aren't always answered the way we hope. Fortunately, his were. Lynn is now healthier than ever. Fran swears a diet high in blueberries grown on the farm here saved her life. That's why the street the couple lives on has been given the appropriate name of Blueberry Lane.
Every morning when you're out with them chickens, you're out there by yourself and you look at everything around you and appreciate everything you got. You can't appreciate what you've got.
What time is it now?
How's that for a story picked in the middle of nowhere? Our journey now continues. In Muse, M-U-S, Sean Martinelli, NBC2. On the road of life, few have had a bumpier path than James Fox. Born without arms or legs, each day is difficult, so you can imagine the feeling.
the most part, I was out of sight.
4 years ago, when James found himself living on the streets.
I was going through severe anxiety and depression. Yeah, it was a very low point in my life.
James might as well have been invisible, as he would ride his skateboard down Veterans Parkway in Cape Coral toward his mom's house to shower. Tens of thousands of cars would pass him. None ever stopped, except one.
He saw me on the side of the road, and he just stopped in the middle of traffic and asked me if I needed a ride. I told him thank you, but no thank you. I didn't want to make his SUV dirty. He said, screw the car, get in.
Dan Creighton was the driver of that car and is a well-off business owner. He expected to give James more than a ride that day.
He goes, dude, I'm good. So many people always reach out and asking and wanting that, again, have arms and arm legs. And here's this guy that has nothing, and he's good. Blew my mind. Still blows my mind today thinking back.
He gave me some money, and he handed me his business card, and he asked me to call him if I ever needed anything.
Dan fully expected to get a call, but never did. So he started searching. He went to bus stops, even asked people about James during business meetings. Then 2 years later, along Summerlin Road in Fort Myers.
I was waiting at the bus stop, and he pulled up in front of the traffic.
Where in the hell have you been?
I've been looking for you for years.
He goes, what do you mean you've been looking for me? I'm going to get in the car.
They took a ride to Dan's office.
It's really indescribable.
And I have my assistant write a $10,000 check.
But what do you say to that? You know what I mean?
And that was just the start.
That was the beginning.
The two stayed in touch. And earlier this year, Dan had another gift.
I decided I'm going to buy him a home.
This was the moment after James realized he would never be homeless again.
I'm just really grateful.
You made a big difference in his life, but
Wow.
He's made just as much a difference in yours.
I can never repay him for what he's given me.
James moved into his new place last month, which is across the street from the job he now works. Neither would be possible without the gift of a stranger who stopped.
Life really is beautiful, and I can't say that I've always believed that.
Sometimes you just need someone who gives you a reason. At the Wildwood Lakes community in Fort Myers, neighbors here might not be as nimble as they used to be, yet you could bet they would run a marathon for their mailman.
His name's Mark Cook.
That's Mark, on the job he's always loved.
Stay right there. I'll be right up.
But to say he just delivers mail would be like saying Michael Jordan just dribbled a basketball.
It's his heart.
There's no one like him.
We've never had a male person that gives us the kind of service he has.
He'll always say hi with a smile. When other people in the world are grumpy, he'll always have a smile.
He has got the biggest heart in the whole world.
In all his years on this route, if anyone ever couldn't make it to the mailbox, Mark delivered straight to the door. If anyone ever needed someone to talk to, Mark lended an ear.
Listen, I've done nothing. Thank you for everything you've done for us.
When one of his customers got cancer, Mark even tended to their garden.
On his day off?
On his day off.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
For Mark, this was not just how he did his job. It's how he lived his life.
That's just my philosophy. You treat people the way you want to be treated.
And after 31 years of exceptional service, there's no easy way for this neighborhood to prepare for what's next.
It's a long road. So here we are.
At the end.
At the end.
I don't know that I'm going to be able to watch that because I'll cry. I don't want him to see me cry.
He means that much to you?
Yes.
As Mark made the final stops of his career, he was honored both in big moments and quiet ones.
I've never had a mailman. I just want to help his wife.
It's okay. It's my pleasure.
For a guy who admittedly doesn't show much emotion.
Bye-bye, Miss Walker. I appreciate it.
Wow.
Here, he couldn't resist.
Did you realize quite the impact that you had?
No, not to this. Sometimes you just get caught up in your work and you just, every day is every day, but I never knew that certain people cared as much as they did.
They cared
That's what I
because he cared.
We love you.
And that's why, long after his last delivery, the legacy of this first-class letter carrier will be forever stamped on a whole lot of hearts.
All right, folks, thanks again.
In Fort Myers, Sean Martinelli,
Thank you.
NBC2.
Really good stuff.
And there are many, many more stories. And if you go online and just Google Sean's name, you'll find some very interesting tales, including a story about how he comes up with his story ideas. But instead of me talking about it, let's bring in Sean now. He can tell us a little bit about his approach, his philosophy, and I'd like to hear exactly how he finds these people. And I think we might have a few minutes for questions after that. So Sean, take it away, buddy.
Well, thank you, Bob, and thanks to the whole committee. It really is an honor. And, you know, some of the judges touched on it, and it's true. You know, I believe that ordinary people have stories that are really worth sharing if we're just willing to listen. And I'm so blessed because about 2.5 years ago, about 3 years ago now, I got a call from our news director here, and he had this idea. He said, I want to create a job where I want you to be a feature reporter, but I don't want you to be someone who wakes up in the morning and is doing all this crazy stuff and these live reports. He said, I want you to do stories that that touch people's hearts and show the best of the human spirit here. And he said it's going to be a unique role, and it's going to be the only one of its kind in the country. You're only going to do 3 stories a week, and they're going to end our 6 o'clock newscast. And, you know, it was like he was speaking to my soul, because I had grown up as, you know, as a reporter and loved doing feature stories. And I guess I had built enough of a reputation for myself that when the opportunity came, it worked out, and I moved down here, and it's been great ever since. You know, I'm fortunate to have a job that allows me to, you know, I almost, people always say, well, they don't consider it a job. I feel like that's true for me, because who I am in real life is who I am in these stories, and they hold the same beliefs that I hold. And, you know, I know an awful lot of people aren't watching news as much as they used to be. And we ask people why, and they say, well, it's too negative. And, you know, I think these people, at the end of the day, these stories give people some hope. And, you know, the late Holocaust survivor, Elie Wiesel, in his last book, he said, you know, I believe in man in spite of man. And I think that at 6:25, when these stories come on, it gives people to have faith in man in spite of what they've seen the previous 8 hours. And, you know, it's just a great privilege to be able to do these stories. And, you know, I've grown up watching people like, you know, Charles Kuralt was before my time, but I watched so many YouTube videos on him. And of course, Steve Hartman, and you know, those are great influences on me. Bob was asking how we find these stories. You know, it's been 2.5 years now since we've been doing this. For those of you who don't know, I have a franchise, Story to Share, and we've been doing it now about 3 years. And, you know, now we get so many people who write in, just like that last story about the mailman. And they said, you know, we have this great mailman in our community, and he's retiring. Will you come do a story on him? And of course, we went there, we spent the whole day, and we found out why they loved him so much. And, you know, and then we had that first story, which we just went out, we said, you know, where's the most, you know, forgotten community in Florida? And, you know, we just picked Muse because, you know, it's one of those places where it doesn't have any restaurants, no shops, and it's kind of forgotten. And we just went out there and said, let's just knock on doors and see if we can find a story. And we ended up finding that piece on love and, you know, unexpected joy that can come from places that, you know, you might not think of. And then over the summer, we came up with this idea, and it was inspired by Steve Hartman, who in the 90s did the franchise Everybody Has a Story, and he would throw a dart on the map and they would go wherever the dart landed. And so we printed these letters up, and on the letter, it said, you know, my name is Sean Martinelli. I'm a reporter for NBC2. If you find this letter, we'll come and do a story on you. And we dropped the letters off all across Southwest Florida. And we ended up getting some pretty interesting tales from that. And we ran 4 of them over the summer, and we're planning to do a few more next year. And those were the hardest stories to do, because you have to try to figure out what's the nugget, what can someone learn from someone else's story in 2 minutes. And, you know, we would spend days really working on them, because we had to try to boil all that down and make it worthwhile television, which I think we managed to do, but it was no easy task. But you know, like I said earlier, I'm just so humbled and honored by this honor. And you know, I've come to many press club meetings, and I'm a proud member. And I just am so grateful to each of you. So thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Sean?
Yeah, hi Joel. And one of my stories to share was on Joel.
Yeah. Sean, this is Joel Bano. I just want to compliment you on this wonderful pieces we were looking at, me for the first time. As a retired television director and producer, I just want to tell you, what you're doing could be in a movie theater. The cinematic value that you put into these stories are just wonderful. And it's just great to see that in journalism. So thank you for what you're doing.
Well,
Hey,
thank you.
Sean, I have a question as well. Do you work with the same photog every time?
I do, yeah. I'm so, you know, that's the other thing. I'm so fortunate. We have this special projects unit here at NBC2. And so I get to work with some really great photographers. And I've been working with two primarily, Todd Offenbeck and Sebastian Gonzalez, and Sebastian for the past year. And they put so much into these stories as well. I mean, and that's so important because without that, you know, these stories, I tell people all the time, people ask, what's the secret sauce and all that. And, you know, the stories are driven on moments. And, you know, it's very easy to do a story on someone who's, you know, it's a big cliche in feature reporting, overcoming the odds. And sometimes you can tell the story before you've even heard the story. But these stories, I feel like, stick with people because they have those moments. You feel like you know the person. And that's how I write. I write around those moments, and the photographers help capture those moments, which help make for a good story.
Can you talk a little bit more about how, when you go out with the photo tech, you coordinate so that you're all moving in the same direction?
Yeah, well, our philosophy to storytelling is, you know, a lot of reporters will go out and the first thing they'll do is they'll do the interview, right? They'll sit down, they'll say, what's your name? How do you spell it? And they do that. And we save the interview. That's the last thing that we do. So we go out, a lot of times we know who we're doing the story about, and we'll just ask the person, what would you be doing here if we weren't here? And, you know, we just get some video of them in their natural environment. And during that process, I'm usually throwing questions at them without them even knowing. And I'm trying to, you know, get a feel for their personality and who they are as people. And many times we'll do that and we'll find out that the story is completely different from what we thought it would be. You know, right before the pandemic, a viewer emailed us and said that our longtime organist is retiring from Zion Lutheran Church in Fort Myers. And I thought kind of, well, that's a nice thing that, you know, she's retiring and church is going to celebrate her, but I don't know if it's a story. But we had a slow day, so we went and we investigated and we sat down for the interview. And before we even started doing the interview, this woman's telling me how when she was growing up, and she played the organ beautifully. When she was growing up, the Ed Sullivan Show came to her little town in Ohio and was doing auditions. And she went to audition and she could play Rhapsody in Blue on the piano from memory. And she captivated the whole auditorium and she nailed the audition and she came in second. She came in second to the Smothers Brothers. And so she had lived this. And so we did the whole story around how she came in second, but you look at the life that she lived and she ended up becoming so celebrated in this church. And she said, you know, I don't know if I would have wanted to come in first because I lived this beautiful life. And, you know, it was a story about those moments. You know, you think about how one moment can change you. And that one moment, you know, she came in second. But it was you know, really beautiful story. And we knew none of that going into it, but it was only because we had this conversation before the interview started and we were able to build a whole story around it. And it was one that I'll never forget.
Any other questions?
Well, I can say, being a former NBC2
Hi,
alum,
Julia.
hi. Sorry, I was a little late to the call. I was on another call. But no, I'm just so proud to see Sean. I think you came to the station like about a year and a half after I got there. And I remember when Sean walked in the door and like the first couple of stories, I remember as a normal reporter being like, who's this guy that gets to do like a story a week? And he's like, this is so awesome. But I was like, but that's what it takes. And Sean has what it takes. And all the stuff was so good. And yeah, I think Waterman is really good for dedicating the resources and the personnel to do it, because it has such an impact in the community. There are people that still like come past me and they're like, oh, you used to work at Channel 2. Oh, they do story to share, don't they? And so that is like, it's just such a cool thing. So really proud of Sean. I'm so glad and happy for you.
Well, thanks, Delia. I will say that I consider it a really big honor to have the first person to ever have this job. And I have many sleepless nights because all I do is I think about the stories all the time. And, a lot of people say you have just 3 a week. And, in my mind, we have to make those 3 stories really, really good, because I'm conscious of that. And, the last thing I want to do is waste, a lot of times I get 2.5, 3 minutes and it's coming right before nightly news. I don't want to waste people's time with those 2 to 3 minutes. And so we spend a lot of time on them. But I'm so grateful because the way this industry is moving, it's going in the opposite direction where people are turning 2, 3 stories a day. They're live and all of that's important. And our dayside reporters, they work so hard. But I think that it is also equally important to have someone who can go out there and tell stories that capture the heart and the soul of the community. And like I keep on saying, I'm just grateful that I have the chance to do it.
And Sean, I want to just say thank you, because you've been up to our campus at Bentley Village several times and done stories and made celebrities of several of our residents, but you also really gave them something to be proud of and to be able to show to their families and their friends forever. You do a wonderful job. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Pam. Yeah, I appreciate it. And you're one of the people who you keep your eyes open for me whenever there are people, because these people who we profile in the news, it's usually the only time they'll ever be on there. And it's because people keep their eyes open and they keep me in the loop. And I'm thankful that you do that.
Sean, it's Carol Green. I just want to say, in times like this, what we've been through in the last number of months, it's heartwarming and thrilling to see stories to share, because without them, it would be pretty dreary. So we thank you so much for what you do.
Oh, well, thank you, Carol. Yeah, it's I have gotten a lot of notes from people over the last few months, and they go through long days and they say that they tune in at 6:15. They don't want to hear the rest of the news, but they just want to hear the weather and then the story to share. So I'm okay with that. We want people to watch all the time. But if they just tune in for the story to share, if that's what they need to get through the day, then that's good to hear.
Any final?
Hi, Sean. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, please.
Hi, Sean. This is Marquita. Your stories are just amazing, amazing. I love them so much. And I'm just wondering, do you consider yourself an empath? Because your stuff is so heartfelt. It's right there.
I like I mentioned earlier, I put so much of myself into these stories, and that I care so much about the people. And we had the chance, I guess it was last year, we went on an honor flight for the first time, and so many journalists have gone on honor flight. And I was thinking the whole time, how can we make this different? How can we make this different? And as we were heading out the airport, I heard this guy, he was laughing as we were going down the concourse. And right after he finished laughing, he mentioned to someone, I have stage 4 terminal cancer. And I was thinking to myself, that might be a story there. And we followed this guy, Greg Harris. He served our country in Vietnam. And we spent the whole day with him learning his story. And after that story aired, I became friends with Greg. And I was there with him the day before he died in the hospital, And the fact that his wife had reached out and had asked me to come and visit him one more time meant so much to me. And you know, there's not a day goes by that I don't think about him. And I think about so many of these people. You know, they reach out to me, and I'm friends with them on Facebook, and I get to watch them grow. And it's just the greatest blessing in my life to have met so many people, not only here, but I worked in Utica, New York, and in Syracuse, and I stay in touch with so many of them too. You know, all these people that I've had the good fortune of sharing their stories on television that probably wouldn't have been able to be on television otherwise.
Hey, you know, Sean, that's really a gift to see the story within the story. It's very reminiscent of something I read years ago. Jimmy Breslin went down to Washington, D.C. to cover the funeral of JFK. And of course, everyone was there for the funeral, but Jimmy Breslin looked around and actually went to the cemetery, or I should say the graveyard before the burial, and spoke with the gentleman digging JFK's grave at that time. And that was a wonderful story that appeared in the New York Daily News, but it was the story within the story. While everybody was here, he was there doing a totally different angle. And I remember it distinctly. So it really is a gift. You should be, I commend you for it. You have a gift.
Well, thank you, Frank. Yeah, and I've had some great teachers, even though I don't know them. You know, like I mentioned before, Charles Kuralt and Steve Hartman. When I was in college at Syracuse University, I would stay up all night watching Steve Hartman and you know, seeing how because to me, that's the best feature storyteller there is. And so, and that's why I watch Wink. Chris, I watch Wink on Friday nights, and because I have to watch Steve's stories. You know, they're so good.
Hey, wait, I'm going to hit record. Can we go back for just a second? So since my boss is on here, can we get that on sound bite?
It's, you know, because they're just so good, and I think that what he does and what they've done with that On the Road franchise, how they've continued it, is really good. And it's I just watch and I study all those people, and allows me to do the work that I do.
Well, you learned well, for sure. Good job.
Thank you, Chris.
And this is what we call dead air, folks, right
here. I didn't want to interrupt if someone had something more to say.
I know, I'm only kidding, Julie.
Sean, congratulations. As a press club, we are so, so pleased to give you this Young Journalist Award, and you will get a plaque and you will get some money. And we're just, again, thrilled to have you being honored by our club. So thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you.
I have to say one more thing, Julie. I've won a few awards, and my mom always asks me, well, what does the award come with? And I always say, no, it doesn't come with anything. You just get the award. Sometimes you get something nice to look at. So when I told her I won this award and it came with $500, she was just blown away that, you know, you get some money. So I think that this is the one that's going to be most memorable for my mom, that it actually came with some money. It's not just something that you can look at.
The check is in the mail too, according to Bob, at least.
That's what I've been told.
Julie?
Yes, Phil.
Unmute me, please. I just wanted to compliment Bob Orr and the committee, because this fellow, Sean, made it so easy for them. It's always very difficult to pick the right person, but I was very impressed with what you did, Sean. And I think I'm going to be jumping off of Steve, by the way, and I'm going to be looking for you. So thank you very much. It's wonderful to see your work.
Well, thank you.
Remarkable. And congratulations to Bob Orr. You said it was a tough job. Forget it.
And thank you, Bob, and the committee for all of your hard work in making this award very special this year. Appreciate it. And Bob and his team, Mark Young and others, have also created a new way for our club to be more relevant and timely for our members, because, you know, this environment where we can't meet is just making us more creative. And we've been wanting to be more inclusive from a geographic standpoint. and virtual gatherings allow us to do that. So they put together a YouTube channel. Mark did a lot of work with that and set up our first press club round table segment. If you have not yet seen it, I highly recommend it. Denise and others are participated in it. It was around the fallout of the 2020 election. 4 incredibly talented and well-respected retired journalists and producers were involved. Again, if you have not seen it, go to the Press Club of Southwest Florida website. It's the first thing you'll see. Click on it, give yourself 30 minutes to watch. It's just fabulous. Bob, congratulations. Mark, thank you so much for all of your work.
And Julie, can I just make a pitch here for ideas? This can be a potential franchise for the Press Club, and there's no limits to what it can be. But for it to work, we need people to participate, and we need some good ideas. We occasionally are going to need moderators, panelists, people that are willing to do some interviews. It's not a full-time job by any means. As Phil said, it's not that hard, but we can be relevant. We can be timely. We can tackle interesting topics that I think our people will be interested in, and it will help spread the brand. And I think after all, that's what we're trying to do. So thank you. And thanks to Mark. Mark has been tremendous in getting this off the ground. Thank you.
Mark, any comments?
Not really. I mean, I enjoyed doing it. It was fun. It is fun.
So we need everyone to get up onto that YouTube channel as well and to like it. Is that what they do? They like it?
I like it.
Okay, because we need to expand that. And if you're on Facebook, Instagram, if you can help share the information about both the Press Club and this new YouTube channel, that would be great. Or whatever social media avenues you think would work best. We really appreciate getting the word out. It's another way for us to become more well-known and more relevant in our community. So thank you. It's hard to believe, but next year is the 25th anniversary for the Press Club of Southwest Florida, which has been the Naples Press Club. We will be doing some little celebratory things throughout the year, and we're looking for additional creativity and ideas. If you want to serve on a virtual subcommittee to help plan for our 25th anniversary, please let me know. We're going to organize our first meeting probably in about a week or so and launch in early January. It's also time to think about renewing your membership. It's only $50 a year. And if you're under 30, if you're 30 or younger, it's only $30 a year. It just makes it easier for Carla if you can just pay sooner rather than later, so she doesn't have to be following up with folks. And invite other people to join us. It's so much easier to be a member when we can do it virtually. And again, $50 a year. We're a very well-run organization, and we'd love to have more people involved. If you're not on a committee and you want to get involved, Bob gave you some ideas of how you can help with the roundtable event, but you could also help write some articles for our weekly newsletter mini scoop, and help with public relations and program planning and other kinds of things. If you have an interest, again, please let me know, and we'll get you involved and we'll get you busy. Are there any other items for the conversation for today? Anything anyone would like to cover? And we can hang out and talk for a while once we adjourn the formal annual meeting.
I just want to let everyone know I went ahead and subscribed and liked the roundtable, and I just sent the YouTube link in the chat for the Zoom. So if people can't find it or whatever, I just went ahead and sent the link in case people want to do it now while they're thinking about it. I'm like that. If I don't do it when I'm thinking about it, it'll get away from me. So
you're a great example, Delia. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Any other feedback, comments, Connie?
They're not banging right now, so I can talk really quickly. I want to thank everybody for the money that came in today, because the way it worked today is you pay $10 to come, and that money was going to go to the scholarship fund, and that created $270 for the scholarship fund. So thank you. Any questions of me about the scholarship committee while it's hanging above my head?
Can I?
Okay, thank you all, and thanks.
Right, I'll call you back in a few minutes.
Frank, if you want to talk, you have to unmute.
Yeah, I was doing something else. I'm sorry. Connie, I have a question. How do I pay you? which I have.
If you would like to send in a donation to the scholarship committee, you make out a check to Champions for Learning.
I might have that somewhere.
But
Go
we'll
ahead.
follow up. We'll follow up. We don't need to do that here. We're going to talk. We're going to chat. We'll do that later.
All right.
Oh, make sure you get Frank. I could text it to you, but
Good.
then
Thank
you put Press Club Scholarship Fund in the memo line and send it to me, and I collect them all and send them to Drew with a cover letter.
Okay.
Let's formally adjourn the meeting and then let's stay and chat. And happy holidays to everyone. I hope this is a wonderful holiday season for all of the celebrations that are going on, and that 2021 is just a better year for all of us. Is there a move for adjournment?
I move for adjournment.
Second?
Second.
Thank you so much. All right, now we can chat.
Okay.
Happy Hanukkah to whoever Hanukkah is tonight.
Thank you.
Sunset tonight, right?
Yeah.
Is Carol Green still there?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll get that information to you sometime today and tonight. But I need to.
Hey, Julie, I have to go, but I want to wish everybody a very happy holiday season. Stay safe. A vaccine is on the way. And before you know it, because I'm a hugger, a handshaker, and a backslapper, this is torture for me. We'll be hugging it out again, I guarantee you. You'll be the first one to get a Frank hug.
Right.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Enjoy your holiday season. My best.
Bye-bye.
Iris?
Yes.
I just want to ask Camila if you want to say anything else. If Camila, would you like to say anything to the group? You could unmute yourself and say something else.
Just thank you. The scholarship really makes such a difference, and it's really great to be able to study what I love thanks to all of you for donating to the scholarship.
I would like to add something onto what you said too, that Camila is a native of Uruguay, and she got her. Did you get your citizenship this year or last year?
In 2019.
Okay, okay, 2019 you became a citizen, and you are an outstanding student. And I think Carol Green and I would totally agree that you are just a shining star in our group, and we love having you, and you just keep achieving. You're just terrific.
Thank you so much.
Maybe someday you'll win an award like Sean did. That would be great, wouldn't it?
Mila, thanks for joining us. Connie, thanks for your help. And Iris shared some information about a piece that she did that's getting published again in a book.
Right.
Well, fill everybody in. 2 seconds, 20.
Okay. So in 2019, a 100-word tiny love story was published in the New York Times that I wrote. Many of you are acquainted with Modern Love. And then yesterday, a book came out of tiny love stories, and mine was selected to be in the book. So I was very excited about that.
Congratulations. Marvelous.
And Carol, what I need to told to talk to you about was questions for tomorrow's.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get to you.
All right.
Anyway, so I guess you didn't need a treasurer's report for today.
No, we didn't. We didn't
Okay.
build it in last year. I guess we maybe should have.
Anyway, it's all right. We
Thanks
still
for
have
being
money.
with us, though, Iris. I appreciate it. Laura, what's happening with you?
Well, I'm spending the morning on 2 of your related press club winners. So last month, Devin Patel's investigation of the hiring practices at the Henry Sheriff's Office came out, and we're just finishing his follow-up, which is looking into hiring practices across the state in Florida and why it is so easy to get quote bad cops, which that title won't those words won't show up in the story. But how easy it is to get them on the force. And we've got that coming up. And I see that Delia has jumped off. I was going to say hi to Delia because I've been listening to her podcast, because one thing we have coming up next year is an investigative podcast that we've had 3 reporters working on for about 1.5 years. In fact, before I even got here to Florida, but it's looking into those 2 missing men in Collier County back from 2003, 2004, William Santos and Terrence Williams. If you've been around here long enough, you probably remember that case, but we've got a great investigative podcast that it will be coming out next year.
Investigate.
I haven't listened to Delia's. Delia's is very interesting. She's from Outer Banks and she's talking about a case that is in her hometown. And the narrator on our podcast is Janine Zeitlin. If you read our papers, you'll know her. She's a wonderful storyteller. And she just happens to be from the same hometown in Illinois where Steve Calkins is from. And he's the sheriff's deputy, Collier County Sheriff's deputy, who was last seen with these two men back in 2003, 2004. He's never been seen again. And he actually was just deposed on Tuesday. And there was a front page story in the Naples Daily News on Tuesday.
Wow. What small town is that in Illinois?
Ottawa, Illinois.
Ottawa, okay, just curious.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And I emailed a couple of you, but just for your newsletter, the word Florida ought to be on my title. I'm Florida Investigations Editor for USA Today Network.
Okay.
And I'm honored to be here. Thank you very much. And I'm excited to see what 2021 will be. And I'd love to be able to connect individually with a number of you just to learn about your work here. Again, I've only been in Florida for just under a year and a half, and I'd like to learn more about what your experiences have been and also what stories you'd like to see coming up in the next year.
Great. Thank you. Anything else to share with the group?
Oh, I have something to share. I finally launched my podcast for Ageless Glamour Girls. And it was not a sexy subject at all. It was Medicare, because I focused it on open enrollment for Medicare, which ended Monday or Tuesday. And I got with this group, goodcare.com, they're Medicare experts. And that was fun. I learned a lot. And so to come out, with a podcast with that subject matter, boring, but I tried to make it exciting. But anyway, I've been talking about that podcast for the longest. And of course, some of you know my brand is Ageless Glamour Girls, and the Chat Fest leg of that is in the Ageless Cafe. That's where we talk all things aging, for women only, of course. But I just want to share that with you because I know I've had it in print that I'm launching this podcast. Well, I finally launched it, and so yeah. So we'll see when the next episode comes out. It won't be about Medicare though.
I want to thank Tom Marquardt for being our Zoom host. He's been so marvelous to work with in the past year as we've made this transition. So thank you, Tom, for all of your help and making us look good. Arnold Klinsky, one last comment?
Well, yes, I think so. Because Sean, first of all, I loved what he did and how he looks at stories. But I'm sitting here saying, I blew one of those stories when I was a young reporter. Because I'm pretty sure everybody here, I'm the only one who went to a KKK cross burning.
Oh,
But I mean, I have pictures. We were afraid they were going to do bad stuff to us. We had the cops. But I'm thinking, if I were Sean, I would have found a way to tell the story about either the protesters or the KKK people. Mm-hmm. We didn't. I mean, we had a lot of pictures. It was pretty cool. I mean, it was interesting. But Sean would have taken that story and made it a people story because there were a lot of people. So congratulations, Sean. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, it's when the president came to visit a few weeks ago, they asked me can you do a story? We never delve into politics on Story to Share, but they said, is there any way you can do something? And so I tried to think about what is one thing that both sides can agree on right now. And and the thing that I came up with was ketchup packets. Because if you've ever, this was a genuine concern that I have, because if you ever have used a ketchup packet, I'm sure many of you have, you have a big pile of French fries, you're opening 10, 12 of those packets just to eat your French fries. So, and they're sticky, they're slimy. So, so we went downtown where the president was having his meeting with, he was giving a speech down there. And we asked people all over, you Democrat, Republican, do you like ketchup packets? Everyone said that they didn't like ketchup packets. And so that was about 17 days before the election. And, you know, the thought process behind that story was someone was going to be elected in 17 days. And then the next day, we're going to have to try to find some way to come together. And maybe a small, silly thing like ketchup packets could be where we start. So.
Thank you for helping us end on a very happy, funny note.
Yes.
Happy New Year to everyone. We'll see you again soon. Thanks for attending.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you, Julie, for accepting the presidency again.
Yeah.
And again and again.
My pleasure.